Been a long time coming, but Ottawa says it believes it has reached an agreement that will satisfy a 2019 Canadian Human Rights Tribunal order and also those covered under class action lawsuits going back to 1991. The price tag is $20 billion. The government's Indigenous Services Minister says lessons have been learned after decades of legal wrangling.
I hope the lesson that we're learning, as I said earlier, is that discriminatory funding for Indigenous people in this country is not just harmful and wrong and morally repugnant, but that it is shooting ourselves in the foot in terms of prosperity for the entire country.
AFN Regional Chief Cindy Woodhouse says a chronically underfunded system set up First Nations children and their families to fail.
This wasn't and isn't about parenting. It's in fact about poverty. And First Nations children being removed from their families and communities instead of being provided help with food, clothing, or shelter. The federal child welfare program was broken from the start.
Affected children and their families will be guaranteed a minimum of $40,000 each, but compensation on a case-by-case basis could be much higher. An additional $20 billion is going to overall reform of the First Nations child welfare system. One Ontario First Nations leader says Ottawa has finally set aside enough money to properly compensate the harms that have been done.
For our remote communities, empirical, math-based solutions to these problems have been unheard of. I'm proud that we have finally identified a promising way forward in this agreement in principle through meaningful structural change.
But children's advocate Cindy Blackstock says her organization is not ready to drop its complaint just yet.
When Canada has ceased its discrimination in the provision of First Nations Child and Family Services and Jordan's principle at the level of the child, that's where we measure it, not on paper. Are children no longer discriminated against in the way that the tribunal found?
The agreement is expected to cover an estimated 215,000 individuals. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.